Futures are flat into the open as Facebook files to raise $5 billion, the largest internet IPO on record. In other corporate news, 38 Dow stocks are expected to report earnings, including MasterCard, Cigna, Dow Chemical, and Merck. Retail same-store sales, jobless claims, and natural gas inventories are also on tap. I'm Jill Malandrino, and the morning call starts right now.
Good morning. I'm Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com.
And I'm Jill Malandrino with theStreet, and together we bring you the morning call. We have a busy day on top. Let's get right into it. We have retail same-store sales, 38 Dow names reporting, and it's Groundhog Day.
Yes, a lot of action, a lot to look at, and so far this week has been, full of it. As far as the markets, though, the markets have been building a nice base above the floor that we've been talking about since early last week. So I guess, Jill, let's take it right to the chart of the S&P. So here you go, S&P. We talked about two different trends here. This has been the long-term trend, the gradual trend that's been in place since early October. This has been that accelerated uptrend that started to go since that December 20th gap and go. This week, everyone was saying we need a pull-in. I was actually in the camp that we could use a pull-in. And then look what happened on Monday. Monday, we broke below this floor, but the bears had no power. We closed right back above it. Now we're going sideways with some more sideways action, some more data, and some more earnings. I think we take out this 1333, and then we'll be right at that high of about 1350, which was put in last July.
We also have to take a look at the Russell and the Qs. The tech names have been doing really well this quarter. I mean, look at Broadcom, for example. These companies are starting to put cash to work. So when you see these growth names lending real support to the market, that's something to get really excited about, especially for the traders out there.
Yeah, traders love when technology leads because obviously technology moves a little bit more frisky than Dow names or some old school names. But anyway, healthy markets are usually led by tech and by the Russell. And if you look here at the Qs, you will see the Qs broke above the resistance. Remember I just showed you that in the SPX? It didn't. Qs are above it. It didn't really extend, but look at the move that it's had, and it hasn't even been violated or even prone to be violated. And if you look at the Russell closed on the highs yesterday and at new highs of this year. So Russell, Qs at new highs. I'm sure the S&P will follow. These type of situations leading the tape provides more health versus what we saw last year in 2011.
Moving along to the sector spotlight, we're going to look at the refiners and energy. Let's look at the OIH. That's the ETF for this space, which is always good to go because some of these names could be a little bit volatile, but this offers you more diversification.
Yes, the OIH has been a nice methodical trade. It's been under accumulation. It started late last year in 2011. In January, it started to head higher. Not really a frisky, crazy trade, but a nice move that you could hold. Okay, if you look here at the OHs, you will see you have that inverted head and shoulders pattern that I talked about so many times. Here was the left shoulder, here's the head, here's the right shoulder. Jim did a nice little segment on this for us or with us, and this was your tier 1 in this area. It broke above this descending or channel or this downtrend. This was your tier 2. And now it's methodically holding again. So if the OAHs can get above 126-ish, I think you can get a decent momentum trade as a trader, and then you have resistance up here at around 133. So there is there's definitely more room here in the OAHs to go higher. Moving
along to Schlumberger, that had a great 2011 on the profit side, the rev side. There's some nice cash there, and we'll see if they can put it to work this year in 2012.
Yeah, if you've been holding Schlumberger, you've been rewarded, and I think traders have it on their, in the front burner here because I think we can get a trade. If you look here at SLB, nice looking chart. I've talked about this overall channel. This channel has been in place now for almost 4 months. We're hovering near the high end of this channel, so a trade above this, I would say 77.50 with some volume. It should break it higher, and then it'll be in the 80s. I'm going to be targeting this for a nice cash flow trade, and for those of you holding it, stay the course and maybe add a tier.
APA, margins look really nice. Guidance was raised. It just recently crossed its 100 DMA.
Yeah, well, this one also, tight pattern. The question is, can they break above this area for another move? And if you look here at APA, I saw the chart before, also tight. You have a nice downtrend line here in front of it. So if this starts to get above, just say around 100, the next area will be the moving average here at around 105.50. So keep this on the radar for a volume breakout trade for cash flow as well.
Moving along to RIG, this thing is down 38%. It could be an interesting acquisition target here.
I actually haven't heard that, so that would be good.
I've heard a little bit of chatter of that going around.
So this chart doesn't look as good, but it seems like it's in play. If you look here, it's not as clean, it's not as tight. This was that one area we talked about when crossed above the 41, and it's still holding higher. It's well below the moving averages, so this is a bit more of a laggard. I would say it's going to have to get above this 49, and the moving average comes all the way up to 54. I would say this is a little bit more of a skeptical type play versus the last two.
Rounding it out with ExxonMobil, Stephanie Link, we talk about this all the time on our research call. This thing's a little bit expensive here, and the question is, where is the growth, and was XTO a very expensive acquisition? Yeah,
I think that the earnings were a little bit disappointing, figuring where it was. It was almost priced for perfection. I was in here with Alex when it came out. I'm like, I don't think that's enough to get people excited for new highs, but I think it'll take it in stride. You look here at XOM, it's right now at this lower area. This was support. It seems like it's trying to break below. I would say watch this 82 area. This is where the moving average comes into play. This is where you had a prior breakout. So this could be a good entry for XOM for you that want to be, a long-term holder here. As far as a buy the dip trader, that could work versus that 82 as well.
All right, so we'll see if the retailers, the refiners can extend into today, and we see some sector rotation there. We're going to jump into a quick commercial, and when we get back, we go into the trenches.
Hi, I'm Sean Hendelman, CEO of T3 Live, where we train, coach, and mentor traders in order to help you put your money to work with confidence. The T3 Live approach is a blueprint for you to recognize, adapt, and ultimately take advantage of different market conditions. To begin your training with T3 Live, we would like to offer you the opportunity to enroll in our free 30-day online home study course. Fill in your name and email address, and I'll see you on the other side.
Welcome back to the morning call. We jump into the trenches with my favorite space for 2012, the fertilizer names, Mosaic being my top pick. This is your supply and demand story. You've got it with the developing nations. There's some weather patterns that have some traders concerned. So I think we're going to get a nice bid in this group for 2012. This is your supply demand story, and I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, this one also had that accumulation type pattern. We saw a lot of this going into the end of 2011, and they've performed very well in the last month. If you look here at the chart of the ETF for the ags, the MU, here was that left shoulder, the head, your right shoulder that also had this descending channel. Here is where you could have added to your tier 2 when it broke it. It's had a nice methodical move, and now it's brushing up against resistance again. The question is, can it break above this resistance? And if so, the next big level here is going to be about 55, 56. So I would watch this 52.50 area to see if we can get some momentum follow through.
Moving along to CF, this one's been an absolute monster. Traders absolutely love this name. Lower feedstock prices are good for these ammonia and nitrogen producers.
Yeah, this one's been leading the group. If you just take a quick look at the chart, it's not really that tight. You missed some of your opportunity. I would have liked to have seen, you buy this thing when it broke this downtrend right around this 160 we spoke about it. But, it's heading higher. You have the old highs here. This stock, I would say, could be at new highs within the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Potash, Goldman took this one down to neutral this week. Look, it's a valuation call. It doesn't mean that the fundamentals have changed. I still like the story.
Yeah, it's been downgraded like 3 different times, and every time it gets downgraded, it goes positive. Even their earnings weren't great, and it went positive. So as far as buying the dip, that's worked. The question is, can we get a momentum trade above this flag? I like this pattern. I'm going to look at it in the next few days. Take a look at POT. You will see what I'm talking about. You have defined resistance right here, right below this 48. So with all those downgrades and a bad earnings, they couldn't get it down. So if it could trade above this 48, the next level will be this moving average at around 50.
Moving along to Mosaic, ticker MOS. This is my 2012 pick. Credit Suisse, same thing. They believe the same fundamentals that I do. They expect the stock to outperform. The demand is really there, and this one's incredibly cheap.
Yeah, and you really had to like the story and time it, because technically it's been lagging the rest of the group, but if you bought it right when Joe was talking about it in December, you're up pretty nicely right here. If you look at the chart, you'll see it's been a slow, methodical move, just grinding its way higher. Not really very sexy, but if you want to hold it, that's fine. Next big level here also is below this moving average, near this old peak or point of reference. So 60, 61, if all these things get to the moving averages, this still has some more room left as well.
AGU, another one that broke some recent ranges yesterday.
You know what, I haven't actually heard traders talking about it, so I want to see what this pattern looks like. It actually looks pretty good. I don't know why they haven't been talking about it, because it's just starting to break above a recent flag. You have a quick little point of reference here around 85, and then really the old highs here are in the 90s. So it looks like all these things are moving higher. This is at least above all the moving averages, so it won't have as much resistance as the last two. So this one actually should be, in a leadership role with your CF and your Monsanto as well.
Rounding off with Caterpillar, CAT. This had a fantastic quarter. This is part of the farming equipment names. If you have people planting fertilizer, you clearly need equipment. American manufacturing has been really strong. China's continuing to improve a bit. So I think, even though it had a great quarter, it ran up a bit, I still think there's more room here.
Yeah, after a nice consolidation, I remember tweeting the day of numbers. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather be a seller into the numbers just short term, because we could do that as a market timer. It's going to need some time after a big run, but then it can go again. So if you look here at the chart, you will see, we've talked about this many times. This was when, I would have liked to seen you buy it around 92. Then you see this overall channel here. This is when it broke above, when traders were getting excited above 98. So into earnings, why not pause? But this pause is really just a pause. You had to be really cute to be able to short 112 to 114 and cover for 4 points. So now I'd say take some off with a little bit more sideways action. At some point, it's going to get above that 114. It just needs a little bit more time to absorb this huge move. But this one could be a macro hold for the rest of the year if you're an investor.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of short-term and long-term opportunities within the space for 2012. So there's going to be, a lot of ways to make some quick hits.
Yeah, and you just got to know your time frame.
Right. So moving along to quick hits for some quick cash. Let's kick it off with AIG's thing was up 6%.
Yeah, AIG, I looked at it yesterday. I haven't traded in a year. I wrote a quick note. I'm like, I'm buying this. I think it gets over the 200-day. It was up 7%. It just shows you how you can time the market. Look at this nice, clean move above that 200-day. Here's your next point of reference around 27. But I think this stock could get to 28, 29. I was long tier 2 yesterday, and I'm going to stick with it.
LVS reported earnings last night, and you've been a big follower of the casino names for at least the past 6 months.
Yeah, I took LVS options and Qualcomm into the numbers. LVS didn't seem like it was enough. I don't think it sells off, but I think it takes it in stride. It just might not be enough juice for it to get above 50-50 and break out. I think if you're a macro investor in LVS, you hold it. If you bought some of the options like I did, you'll probably lose half your premium. But if you took both, Qualcomm will more than fund that LVS that just didn't work out yet.
Right, and Qualcomm, that was another big name because Broadcom has such a great quarter, and people have been looking at Broadcom as an alternative to Qualcomm, so I think it makes sense if we look at both of them just to see what levels look interesting now.
Yeah, well, Qualcomm's opening up at new highs. I love the pattern here. We talked about it many times, so if you're an investor, this was also one of those macro holds that we talked about. If you have 7 or 8, this was one of them. Look at this accumulation pattern that it's been in. That means institutions have been loving it. And then now you actually go to the weekly. They reported, they're opening above. So I would say just like a Caterpillar, if you want to take some profits into this up open, it's been trading 62.5, 63 pre-market. I would sell some, but I think you could also hold some. But it's going to need some time because this has just been a huge run. And as far as my options, I'm probably just going to sell them on the open because I have the weeklies that expire Friday.
Right. Moving along to IPO name Groupon. This one recently broke its downtrend.
Yeah, Groupon. We talked about it the last 2 days. I said, buy it above this downtrend around 2075, 21. If you look at the chart here, you will see that here's your daily. I'll expand it a little bit so you can see it better. Here's your downtrend since the IPO. It just started to poke its head up through it yesterday. I think this can easily get to 24 to 25, especially with all the hype around Facebook. But so far, nice trade. I'm going to stick with this one as well.
And let's close it out with Visa. MasterCard reported this morning. We haven't seen the numbers just yet. This one's out February 8th.
Yeah, Visa's been holding up much better than MasterCard, so if they deliver on good numbers, I think it'll be at historic highs.
All right, rounding out the morning call, we have a lot to look forward to. We have the 38 down names. Some of them are already out this morning. We have that big jobs number tomorrow, retail same-store sales, so we have a lot on tap. Don't forget, at the end of the day, catch Scott with the daily wrap of the charts on Real Money Pro, Options Profits, and, of course, T3 Live.
It's in a lot of spots, so make sure you have some time to watch it.